Welcome to the BriteVibe podcast. At BriteVibe, we believe everyone deserves to be happy. But in today's world, everywhere you turn, there is division and negativity. At BriteVibe, we have created a global movement to bring 8 million people together who are inspired to live bright, live bold, and share bright vibes. Alone, it can be hard to change, but together we can change the world. Welcome to the BriteVibe podcast. All right. Vishen Lakhiani, welcome to the show today. So happy to have you on.
Hi, Matt.
Yes, I love Mind Valley. I love what you do there. Just the overall vision. I was listening to some stuff earlier today about learning versus transformation and your thoughts around that. I know you've got some new books out. So you're the CEO and founder of Mind Valley, an incredible resource, an incredible community. And you've got several books out. You've got the Code for Extraordinary Mind, for the Extraordinary Mind. You have The Buddha and the Badass, which is interesting. And then you have your latest book out, 6-Phase Meditation. And so where would you like to begin today?
So, Matt, I can begin anywhere you want me to begin. It sounds like you're quite proficient with my work. So we could talk about Mind Valley. We could talk about any of my books. We could talk about my newest book, which is the 6-Phase Meditation Method.
Yeah, let's start there. 6-Phase Meditation Method, since it's out and some people may not have heard of it yet. Let's go ahead and start there. What is the 6-phase? I've done meditation for a long, long time, but what's the 6-phase meditation? That's new to me.
So let me ask you this, Matt. How do you do meditation? Because meditation, the word, means so many different things to different people. And, you know, there's a funny statistic. Half of Americans who start meditation do not continue. Right. And the reason is because they find it boring. They find it a waste of time. They find it painful. It is painful trying to stop your thoughts or focus on your breath. And I honestly think that is unnecessary and somewhat useless. But I'm curious to know, how do you meditate?
Typically, I studied in India with Hindu monks a lot. And so my meditation's more really actually just very simple. I sit, I focus, on the middle of my forehead, the third eye, if you want to call it. And I just allow myself to go deeper and deeper into a space of beingness. So it's not real technical. It's just being. And
exactly.
And I've done it. Okay. I've done it enough where at some point my mind just does go quiet. But it wasn't that way in the beginning. In the beginning, it was like just all of the stuff. Trying to be quiet actually led to more awareness of how much garbage and how much trash talk was going on in my mind.
Exactly, and that happens to a lot of people. Okay, so the style of meditation that you're talking about is what we can describe as hermetic meditation. Okay. So you've had Emily Fletcher on this show, right? Emily Fletcher has a very interesting quote on meditation. There are two types of meditation. There's modern and then there's hermetic. Sometimes this is called passive for hermetic or active for modern. Hermetic meditation was great thousands of years ago, when we didn't have to worry about careers or WhatsApp messages or getting the kids ready for school, when we had the luxury of being able to sit under a tree and meditate in quietude for hours upon hours and just play with our thoughts. And it served the purpose. It's not the most optimal way of meditating right now. As Emily Fletcher said, the point of meditation isn't to get good at meditation. The point of meditation is to get good at life. Life today is different. And so I'm a big advocate of what we call modern or active meditation. And active meditation is about two things. It's about putting you in states of bliss, happiness, all the good, delicious feelings and emotions that you want to have throughout your day. But the second thing is, active meditation is about commanding your perfect days and declaring your perfect life, and then moving you towards the most gorgeous visions you have for your future. Active meditation merges the pillar of the Buddha, which is peace, bliss, feeling connected, with the badass, which is the disruptor, the builder, the creator, the person who's going out there, rattling the world, creating new things, building companies. Now, the 6-phase is the protocol I designed that suddenly blew up. I started by releasing it for free on the web, and it got picked up by various sports celebrities, several music celebrities, and they started talking about it in Billboard magazine, in the New York Times, and it exploded. It is a form of meditation that is not about clearing your mind. It actually is designed to keep your mind active. And so by the 6 phases in the 6-phase meditation. So each phase is designed to unlock a superhuman ability. And when you do it in the morning, what happens is that you just have the most amazing setup for your day, and it carries through with you. And what typically happens is people who are sports people, they see a massive increase in their performance. This is why Tony Gonzalez spoke about it in several interviews. He's one of the top NFL players in history. This is why Bianca Andreescu, who defeated Serena Williams in the US Open, credited this meditation, because she actually attended a class on it. This is why Miguel, the rock star who wrote the song for the Pixar movie Coco, multiple hit songs, in an interview with Billboard, he spoke about how he does this with his entourage, with his crew before concerts. This is how the entrepreneur who started the Bella and Duke $100 million dog food company stated that this meditation helped him go from 0 to 100 million in revenue, because it helped him conceptualize his future. So the 6 phase is meditation designed for super performers. If you play sports, if you're an entrepreneur, C-level executive, if you're a CEO, if you are ready to take the stage, this meditation makes you show up as your best self.
That's incredible. And so when we say 6 phases, do you want to run us through those 6 phases?
Yeah, let's do that. Okay. So think about life like a computer game, right? Have you ever played one of those computer games where you got to make this character move through this mythical kingdom, and then you got to gain endurance and strength and charisma and power to eventually defeat the big boss? You've seen that type of game, right?
I think the closest I got was Super Mario Brothers, right? So back in the day, right? But I know what you mean. Right. And even back then, you had to defeat the guy at the end, right, to go to the next level.
You got to defeat the big boss. Yeah. Now, in today's life, it's not that different. There are about 6 human characteristics that I believe are essential to fully transforming your life, so that you have all the abilities you need to have incredible, magical, powerful, beautiful, blissful days. And to also, as you have these beautiful days, make the future visions you have for yourself, whether it's getting your company to its first million, or getting that book out, or finding the love of your life, to take those future visions and bring them to you. Now, these 6 concepts, these 6 levels that we want to level up on, I actually put together after about 1,000 interviews. So as the founder of MindValley, which is the world's biggest personal growth platform, I've interviewed close to 1,000 people. I've produced $500 million worth of the world's top online courses. Pretty much any of the top online courses in the world right now, whether it's memory or health or wellness or energy healing, is published by MindValley. And so as the founder, I got access to all of these different methodologies. And there were six aspects of being human that I believe, if we can learn to up-level, it completely transforms the quality of our life. Now, the first is something that sages and spiritual teachers and monks have been talking about for eons. It is the power of an open heart. So we call this phase compassion. And this is where you actually do a protocol that's been proven by science to make you kinder, gentler, more compassionate. If everybody did this, we'd be living in a beautiful, blissful, peaceful world. But when you do this, what happens is that when you go out in the world, your threat mechanism is less activated. You feel safer, you're kinder, and you will observe that other people relate to you in a different way. That's phase 1. But then we go on to phase 2. Phase 2 is about elevating happiness. And many people get happiness wrong. They think happiness comes after attaining some big goal. But that is the if-then model of happiness. What science is saying is that happiness is rocket fuel towards your goals. You want to be happy before you hit your goals. So phase 2 is about actually elevating all the beautiful, gooey, delicious emotional states that give you bliss and happiness, and doing it right in the morning so it fuels your day. So those two are just the first 2 phases. I'll stop here because I trust you might have some questions on these too.
Well, and yeah, so when you're talking about the open heart and compassion, that makes sense. If you're in a space of compassion, you're not going to be as reactive, right? So you're probably quieting down some part of the brain to allow more peace, I guess. And as you were talking, I was like, well, it's like the power of basically what I put out, I get back, right? And so if I'm putting out positivity, if I'm putting out even neutral vibes, that's better than going out with anxiety or anxiousness or worry, right? Because I'm gonna attract that which I'm focused on. And so if I'm focused on compassion, guess what? I'm gonna receive more compassion. So it makes complete sense. But how do you elevate happiness?
So let's go back first to the first one, because it's not as simple as you think it is. So it's not just, you can't just tell someone be compassionate. You can't do that. But you can train, but you can actually, it's a setting within our being that you can play with. Now here's what science says. So the HeartMath Institute did some studies on this, and they found that if you just close your eyes and in front of you, you visualize the face of someone you love, be it your child or your partner, and you just bring back the memory of them, you actually directly influence your heart resonance. Your heart resonance, which is a measure of wellness, starts changing, and it happens really, really fast. But then the phase 1 protocol that we teach is about then taking that energy and emanating it across the world, so that you actually feel deeply connected to all life. Many people think they're compassionate, but they are not fully open to compassion. Their compassion and kindness stops at the people who look like them, or worship like them, or have the same national identity as them. Do you remember all of those people who were upset because they think Mexicans are crossing the border and taking jobs?
Yes.
I bet they think they're kind, compassionate people, but their compassion stops at the border.
Yes, right.
Right. Now, Ken Wilber and all the great spiritual teachers of the world talk about human development maps, and all of the maps of human development point to one thing. As we develop as a species, our levels of compassion extend in wider and wider and wider circles until you start seeing the world as one. In fact, Charles Darwin wrote about this in 1872 in a book on basically his theories on human evolution. Charles Darwin attempted to describe where he believes human beings are going. And he said, as soon as man starts to realize that you can come together as a village to protect and gain benefits from each other, this clarity is going to go larger and larger, and our sympathies will diffuse to the idea of coming together as cities, and then countries, and then unions of countries. We have seen this in the European Union. And eventually the entire world will be one. I know that sounds like a John Lennon song, but this is where humanity is headed, as long as we stop this stupid practice of voting in right-wing politicians who tell us to fear each other. Right? So Charles Darwin, who was one of the greatest Brits who ever lived, as voted by the Brits, literally predicted the European Union. Some idiot in Britain, based on lies, caused Brexit, which has been devastating for the British economy. Compassion means always opting towards connection and not towards us versus them. Now, you can train this, and when you train this, what happens is that you lose your affiliation to your national identity. This doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you any less of a patriot. You simply develop a greater identity towards the human species. If everybody did this, we would not be making some of the dumb decisions we make as a species right now that put our entire planet in a dangerous position. So yes, compassion is not baby stuff. This is not kindergarten personal growth. Ken Wilber talks about this as states of human development and stages of human development. States are happiness. You can be happy, you can be sad, you can be happy, you can be sad. Stages are is how you identify as a human being with the grander schema of life. And this is an irreversible shift. And so when you practice the 6th phase, your degrees of compassion literally grow larger and larger and larger, irreversibly. You cannot swing back to being an asshole. So that's phase 1.
Or if you are, you have to be an asshole globally to everyone, right? So you got to be consistent with. But yes, I understand what you're saying.
So that's just phase 1. And then you go on to phase 2. Now, phase 2 is basically a concept called 3x3 gratitude, where you go deep into a specific gratitude protocol that elevates your levels of happiness. And there's so much studies right now on how happiness fuels productivity. There's a book by Shazad Shamin called PQ, Positivity Quotient, and he talks about how your PQ is as important as your IQ. Your PQ is your ratio of positive thoughts to overall thoughts.
Right.
And the higher your PQ, the better you do at life, the better you do at work. Doctors perform 19% better at diagnoses. Salespeople perform 55% better. Students do better at exams. And in one of the most stunning aspects of the book, Shazad Shamin shares a study that shows that the only thing that reliably predicts the performance of a team is not their leader or their strategy or their OKRs. It is their PQ. If a team has good PQ, everything, their performance goes up. So phase 2 is about elevating PQ. And then we go to phase 3. And phase 3 is really interesting. It's about a quality called becoming unfuckwithable.
Yeah, there's a book not called that. There's a book called Anti-Fragile, I think, that I've read, but it just means basically that yes, the economy can't mess with you, or when the economy's screwed up, that you still survive. But what's your definition of unfuckwithable? Is that a coined term? Is that a Mind Valley term with a registered trademark?
No, unfuckwithable is actually an internet meme. But becoming unfuckwithable. Let me pull it up and read you the exact
definition for our listeners. Thank you.
Nobody knows who first said this, right? But Urban Dictionary defines it as when you're truly at peace and in touch with yourself, and nothing anyone says or does bothers you, and no negativity or drama can touch you.
Yeah, sounds like.
Let me repeat that.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you're truly at peace and in touch with yourself, and nothing anyone says or does bothers you, and no negativity or drama can touch you. That is becoming unfuckwithable. Now, it turns out there's a protocol to get you there. And it's a specific forgiveness protocol. Interestingly enough, it's a specific forgiveness protocol that you run in your head to make yourself remove all negative charges towards anyone who has wronged you, whether it was yesterday or 50 years ago. And also total forgiveness towards yourself and any mistakes you may have made in the past.
Right. And that's always the hard one, right? For us as human beings, the hardest one is, we think it's the hardest one is forgiving somebody else, but it's really forgiving ourselves for past indiscretions and all the stuff that we hold those things against ourselves because we have to live with ourselves. We know who we are. We know what we've done. And so we're either hiding those or we're suppressing it or it's manifesting as all kinds of illness and all kinds of bad things back out in the world. Right. So yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah. But when you practice this particular forgiveness protocol, what happens is that you heal these aspects of yourself. And studies are showing fascinating stuff about forgiveness. It improves endurance, helps you sleep better, remove feelings of dread or anxiety or depression. It reduces lower back pain for some reason. It improves heart health, yet many of us don't understand how to do it. But a side effect of doing it is this feeling of being unfuckwithable. And what happens ultimately as you practice this in phase 3 of the 6th phase is that negativity stops affecting you. And you are so at peace with who you are. You're so at peace with other people that you operate at a different level. Now, the studies show that it actually influences your brainwave states. It makes your brainwaves become more and more and more like the brainwave states of Zen Roshi monks who spend 20 to 40 years meditating. But forgiveness gets you there in a very rapid state. And for those of you who are brainwave enthusiasts, what's basically happening is that your alpha brainwave amplitude goes up and your left-right brain coherence goes up. These are markers that they see in the brains of monks. And so it's fascinating that the practice of forgiveness actually makes you more monk-like.
Yeah, which would make sense. I mean, Jesus talked about that. I'm sure the Buddha talks about that, right? Forgiveness is essential to the keys to the kingdom, so to speak. But it makes sense, but it's hard to do, right? Unless it's a concentrated effort, right? Yeah.
It's not. That's the thing. It's not hard to do. When you do it with the 8-step protocol that I describe in the book, and this protocol comes from research from the Biocybernaut Institute and 40 years of Zen, Dave Asprey's Research Institute, it's actually significantly easy. The trick is to do it when you're at a relaxed brainwave level or the alpha level. When you do it then, you're able to almost reprogram the grooves of your brain to release this trauma, to release the shadow, to release that which you are still having difficulty releasing. And this is when the forgiveness becomes really effective.
And don't you think the opposite of forgiveness, not forgiving, don't you think that's what's fueling a lot of all of the divisiveness that we're seeing in the world right now? It's the lack of forgiving ourselves, the lack of being able to forgive others that fuels this. And then there's this perpetual sense that I have to defend my position. So I can't forgive, I can't connect, I can't relate, I don't have compassion, so therefore I must defend my position so that I'm right and justified in my actions of being a bad actor. I mean, I guess that's what the way I'm seeing a lot of things show up in social media, in the news. Right?
It's very true. It's the dance of two different dimensions, right? The first is compassion. So the more compassionate you are, the more you're able to see the other person's viewpoint. And when you see someone who might be lashing out at you, you are less likely to get triggered. You're more likely to see them as, in a way, a soul that needs some healing.
Right.
When you train forgiveness, what you're doing is that you're removing ill will and negative thoughts from the past towards a past. And we carry these burdens with us. We carry these judgments on ourselves and on other people. It's so common for people to have gripes and anger towards an ex-spouse or an ex-lover. And sometimes these things are justified. It's perfectly okay to be angry, to be upset with someone who has abused you, who has hurt you, who has stolen from you. But there's a difference between pardoning and forgiveness. Forgiveness means you see them as that broken soul and the charge is gone. You may still report them to the police. You may still no longer want to be with them or see them again. That's not the case. But you have healed the negative trauma that stands between you and them, or between you and a younger version of you that you've yet to forgive for some bad decision you made in the past. This is what has a healing effect on the human body. For example, the University of Utrecht found that after practicing forgiveness, people jump higher. An Israeli study found that after practicing forgiveness, people's endurance goes up. We don't even really understand that forgiveness actually seems to improve the quality of your physical body.
Right. And when you're talking about forgiveness, for clarity, we're not saying that you physically, like if somebody's died or you don't want to, to your point, they've stolen from you, abused you or whatever. We're not saying you literally have to go ask, give them forgiveness.
No.
This is all happening inside you, inside your being.
It's all happening inside you. They don't even need to know that you're forgiving them.
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah. And I think, because I think that
people.
Go ahead.
But when you master this skill, the way you show up in the world is extremely different. You also stop getting triggered. So if you look at people who are very hateful or vengeful, well, let's take Donald Trump as an example, right? I remember Richard Branson sharing a story of Donald Trump. And he'd shared this with a group of us. We were with him in Necker Island, but he also shared this in an interview. He went to see Donald Trump when Donald was about to run for president, and Donald kept bringing up people in the past who had hurt him, talking about how when he became president, he was going to go after them, he was going to hurt them, he was going to destroy them. And Richard tried to talk him down. Richard's like, Donald, why would you do that?
Right.
Like, there's no reason to do that. But Donald refused to back down. And Richard was so terrified by what he saw, he wrote an article in the press saying, this man cannot be president. Whatever you do, do not elect this man president. Of course, voters thought differently because it's very easy to push the buttons of human beings. Donald Trump pushed the us versus them button. That's a very effective button. If you're not fully aware, the us versus them button, and he pushed it by getting Americans to develop us versus them responses towards Muslims and Mexicans and people who come from so-called shithole countries and Democrats and all of this other crazy stuff. He got the votes, which was very unfortunate for the US and the world. He was a guy who he is a man who is so broken that he serves as a bad example for what it means to be truly human. But even Donald Trump, if he practiced this protocol, could move towards the presence and ethics of a saint. And he would actually heal. His body wouldn't be in the horrible state it is today, because holding on to hate literally destroys you. There's so much evidence of this in today's world. Stress, hate, anger. It hurts the body. Gabo Mate wrote a book about it called When the Body Says No. And so the act of forgiveness clears this traumatic response from the body.
And in that, obviously, if we have hurt and angst and this, again, kind of that getting away from that us versus them mentality, as I look at things that show up in the world that, bring up charges in me, then that's where I have really the catalyst for growth, right? I mean, so in the example you gave of Donald Trump, if I truly hated Donald Trump, then I really need to sit with that, be with that, and forgive those parts of myself that are showing up like Donald Trump, or that are showing.
You would actually forgive Donald Trump.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't think Donald Trump should be president. I don't think he's in any way qualified as a leader, but I don't hate him.
Right.
To hate means you have failed the forgiveness test.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I wanted to.
So if Donald Trump was here, I would probably give him a hug because he's going through a really bad day today because his residence was raided by the FBI.
Is that right? I did not see that. I did not see that on the. Yeah, I didn't see the news this morning.
It's all over the news, which is why I brought it up.
Okay.
I'd sit down with him. I'd make him a cup of tea. I'd probably give him a hug.
Right.
I wouldn't hate him, but I'd probably tell him, please don't run for president again because you're not very qualified and you're hurting your country.
Right. And
so you see, that's the difference, and that's what people don't get.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. It's not, we can't stay in an us versus them mentality. It's got to be all. We've got to accept all. We don't have to like all. We don't have to agree all. We don't. If somebody murders a child, I definitely don't want to hang out with them. I don't agree with what they've done. I mean, I have children. You have children, right? But I do have to. I can have compassion, seeing them as a broken vessel, or seeing them as someone that lacks light, but still want to see him in prison. I mean, those two things. Yes. And I think
exactly.
I talked
which is why one of the rules of forgiveness is that forgiveness is not the same as pardoning.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yes. Because I can fully forgive somebody, but but still want to see them serve whatever time is necessary for what they've done.
Someone who's dangerous may be better served in prison.
Yes, exactly. So that's 3. What's number 4?
Okay, so before we get to number 4, 5, and 6, you must understand this nuance of being human, right? So Ken Wilber wrote an amazing essay called Egolessness. And Ken he's a Mind Valley author. He's also the greatest living philosopher and the most cited academic in the United States. Now, in his essay, Egolessness, he basically talks about how egoless means more. And one of the things that he says is this: the typical person wants the spiritual sage to be less than a person, somehow devoid of all the messy, juicy, complex, pulsating, desiring, urging forces that drive most human beings. We expect our sages to be absence of all that drive us, all the things that frighten us, confuse us, torment us. But egoless does not mean less than personal. It means more than personal. Think of the great yogi saints and sages, from Moses to Christ to Padmasambhava. They were not feeble-mannered milquetoast, but fierce movers and shakers, from bullwhips in the temple to subduing entire continents. They rattled the world on its own terms, not in some pie-in-the-sky piety. Many of them instigated massive social revolutions that have continued for thousands of years. What Ken is saying is that we think to be spiritual, you got to sit down, meditate, be passive, but that's not real. Our spiritual sages were also badasses.
Right.
Jesus brought a frickin' bullwhip to the temple to go against the moneylenders. Muhammad subdued entire continents. Buddha instigated social revolutions. Paramahansa Yogananda, one of the more modern ones, one of the more recent ones, left India to come to America to spread enlightenment across America and wrote one of the best-selling books of his era, Autobiography of a Yogi. These were not passive-minded milquetoast, simply content to be meditating and embracing their bliss.
Right.
Phase 4, 5, and 6 is about that. It's about bringing in the badass to the Buddha. It's about your future. So phase 4, you practice a protocol to visualize with clarity your life 3 years ahead and to bring it to you. Phase 5, you take that and you go through a protocol to command your perfect day. You literally command how your upcoming day is going to unfold. And in phase 6, you actually unify everything with a prayer or an ask to a higher power. And that is what completes the 6th phase.
And about how long, because I can just hear people thinking, well, gosh, I don't have 3 hours every morning.
It's only 15 minutes.
There we
go. It's literally
only
15 minutes. There's a myth that makes you think, that makes many people think that the longer you meditate, the better results. No. At a certain point, you fall asleep. The results don't work like that. So what the 6th phase is really minimum effective dose meditation.
Got it. And so 15 minutes, and I, anytime I've talked to anybody who's a professional meditator or teaches meditation, typically it's that 15 to 30 minute window is where you get maximum effect. And, because we do have lives to live,
so the 6 days can be anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. 15 is about the minimum. 20 is pretty much a really good session, but it's 15 to 20 minutes only.
Incredible. And this is your new book that just was released. How long ago? How long ago was this book released?
Well, it's coming out in September.
Got it. Okay. So it's released literally like now. It'll be releasing soon. By the time we release this podcast, it'll be releasing. So that's amazing. That's awesome. Talk a little bit about Mind Valley, what you do there. I like the philosophy. I like what you're doing there. And I think didn't you just get done with your reunion? Did you just get done with the reunion or?
Nope. We had a massive, we had a massive event in Tallinn, Estonia with 1,600 of our members moving here for 3 weeks.
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about that. You've motivated people to move completely somewhere else for periods of time.
No. That's what you're observing. That's not what we are. Okay. What you're observing is a tiny piece of what Mind Valley is really about. What we're building is a new education model for humankind because existing education models are really fucked up. So even if you graduate with a Harvard degree, most universities in the world today teach you one thing, and that is how to get and keep a job. And that is such pointless information if you think about how complex we are as human beings. Mind Valley looks at 12 different dimensions of being human, right? Dimensions that universities and education system do not touch. How to be better in your relationships, how to optimize your health so you can literally slow down aging, how to be the best parent you can be, how to master your emotional states, how to have the most amazing character, how to have the right levels of confidence, how to believe in yourself. All of these different things are so important to the dynamic of being human. Then there are also categories such as money. Universities don't teach you how to set goals for wealth, for income. Mind Valley does. There are categories such as your environments, how to live a life where you're surrounded by beautiful spaces, where you're having the richest experiences life can give you. Universities don't teach that. Universities were designed to create cogs in the wheels of machinery, to create workers for this bullshit idea called GDP growth. And so we measure the success of a country based on GDP growth, and we measure our education to produce little human beings who are broken in every aspect of their life except that they can flip burgers, work the 9 to 5, sometimes 2 or 3 jobs, and thus account for GDP growth. And one of the countries in the Western world that is most badly afflicted with this is the United States.
Right. Yep.
Americans get barely any maternity or paternity leave, very little sick days, very little vacation time. Many have to work 2 or 3 jobs. Some of the most important Americans, like school teachers, are grossly underpaid. You guys don't really, I don't know, are you American, Matt?
Yes. Very American, right? In the center of the United States. Very
exactly. American. Well, I love America. I just got my O1 visa, so I can now settle in America and live there. But America's pretty fucked up because of the algorithm on which the country is running. Now, a large chunk of this is the education system. So what Mind Valley is seeking to do is to create a better education system. Our goal is really simple. By 2025, any human being enrolled in Mind Valley will be able to have the quality of life that one would have with a Harvard or Stanford degree with the best education in the world, but at 1/100th the cost. And when we talk about education, we're not just looking at career. So in a way, we can probably provide better education than Harvard because you learn how to have the most amazing health. You learn how to have the most thriving relationships. You learn how to tap into the power of your soul. You learn to master your emotional states. You learn how to be happy. You learn how to give back to the world. You learn how to be a better entrepreneur. You learn how to master your state of being. So when you're at work, you have the most incredible focus and flow states and creativity. And we do this by tapping into the greatest teachers in the world, some of whom are world-famous university professors like Sri Kumar Rao of Columbia and Kellogg, or Tal Ben-Shahar of Harvard, to many of the greatest spiritual teachers like Neil Donald Walsh. And we produce the world's best programs with them. And then when you're a Mind Valley member, you get access to this entire library of programs and an AI that understands you and helps design your learning path. But that's just the beginning. The next thing we do is that great universities provide a campus. So we are building a digital global campus around the world. It's powered by our own private social network that allow our members around the world to come together in dinners, in celebrations, in festivals. The dinner model that we have is called a Jeffersonian dinner. It's a model from Thomas Jefferson, where 8 to 14 people come together for really deep, meaningful connection. So Mind Valley, what we're looking at doing is providing a better education system. By 2025, if you really want to be successful in the world, if you have a scholarship for a university, sure, do that. But if you have to go into debt, don't waste time with a university. Mind Valley gives you a better education at 1/100th the price.
Very interesting. And so when you're talking, I was curious, when you're doing these dinners, obviously they're virtual dinners, or are they actually in live? They're virtual dinners?
No, live. Yeah, we have members all around the world in person.
Oh, very interesting. And so are they just coming together literally for a dinner to talk about subjects that are relevant, or is this an ongoing thing?
They come together. So these are people who are driven by a very similar set of values. And the primary value is I seek to become the best version of myself I can be. Right? That's the primary value. Now, when these people come together, these dinners are designed to get people to deeply connect. Because if you want to be the best person you can be, one of the things that science says is most important to you is the strength of your social connection.
Right.
A Harvard study shows that this has the highest correlation, a 0.7 correlation with human happiness. It's how connected you are with other people. Studies on work performance show that the more friends you have in your workplace, the better you do at work.
Right.
Studies on longevity show that community increases your lifespan. And so it's so imperative for us, if we want to create incredible humans and change human lives, we bring human beings together.
I totally agree. And, we've had Dan Buettner with the Blue Zones on. We've had some other experts on longevity. And so, that community piece seems to be what's missing the most. And when I say community, not who you know, but how deep are those relationships, right? How deep are those roots? And do you feel supported? Do you feel heard? Do you feel accepted? Do you feel supported in that community? And I think, I think there's another survey out, and I cannot quote who the survey, who did the survey, but in essence, it asked millennials and younger people how many people they could call in the middle of the night if they had an emergency, and it was 0 to 1. I mean, there was people out there that don't have anybody to or don't feel that they can contact anybody, on a scale of 0 to 1 people who they can truly count on. And I'm like, that's just sad. That's just that doesn't work for community. And so you're fostering the community through these live things. You said you just did. Now we touched on this thing that you're doing in Europe, where you brought 1,600 people together for 3 weeks. What was this about?
Yeah, so that was just one. That was just one of many Mind Valley events that happen all around the world. So in Estonia, we have this project where thousands of our members come together for 3 weeks. To Estonia. Estonia is one of the is the most advanced country in the world, the most technologically advanced nation in the world, and one of the most spiritually advanced countries in the world as well. It is something you got to see. It's right out of the future. But so 1,600 members come to Estonia with kids, and we rent the biggest conference center in the country, and we bring in 70 world-leading speakers, and then people use the Mind Valley app, and they create this plethora of different events, workshop, talks, gatherings, parties all around the city. And so it's so incredible in terms of human connection and also in terms of learning. But it is basically 3 weeks in a foreign country with just the most amazing people.
That sounds like a good party.
Well, partying is part of it.
Yeah.
The way we do parties is at a whole different level.
Right, exactly.
It's really about meaningful connection.
Yes, of course. That's amazing. And so they just come in for 3 weeks. I shouldn't say just. They move their families there for 3 weeks. They experience each other. They experience great teachers, resources, apparently amazing country.
We build schools. We build schools for 3 weeks, really powerful schools for 6 to 9 year olds, for 9 to 12 year olds, for teenagers. And I do this because I have a 14-year-old son and an 8-year-old girl. So I started Mind Valley University because I knew they were not going to get the education they needed from the regular schooling system. So Mind Valley University, 3 weeks, but in 3 weeks, we transformed the future of a child.
And so what ages was that again? All the way down to, you said...
You start at 6.
6,
yeah.
Okay. So 6 and up. So they're going through education processes, classrooms, classes, as the adults are then going through things. Is that
you're calling it education because that is what people are calling it education because that's the word we have, but that honestly is a meaningless word. It's not about learning, it's about transformation. So they're going through transformation. The difference between learning and transformation is this. Education focuses on learning, which is facts, it's data. Today, we can Google that stuff. Transformation is a dynamic change in your meaning schema of the world and how you show up in the world. It's an irreversible shift in perspective. And so the kids are given transformation. They become more confident for life. They become more self-aware for life. They learn how to tap into their energy bodies for life. They learn how to get on stage and give a talk. They learn how to think like an entrepreneur. And transformation is irreversible. The kids do not forget this. We literally are adding new levels of wisdom and awareness to them.
That sounds amazing.
And they end up completely changed. One of our students, his name is Daniel, from Costa Rica. He just was written up in Forbes magazine. He's probably one of our most diligent students. He's been to 4 Mind Valley universities, just written about in Forbes magazine, because at 17, he's visited 50 countries, written 3 books. He dropped out of regular school and he started a company.
Wow. That's incredible. And all just because, because he was able to shift his mindset, or with this,
exactly.
With this,
from Mind Valley events.
Yeah, with these Mind Valley events, he was able to shift his perspective into a whole new space, into a whole new world.
Exactly.
Which is amazing. Well, congratulations for doing that, and thank you for doing that. That's, the world needs more of this, right? And when I say education,
right.
This is how education should be, right? So when I say education, this should be the definition of education. Is really more about transformation, right? Because to your point, you can Google, you can look up, you can find tons and tons of information, but information isn't education. Transformation should be education, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously mindvalley.com, you've got the book out, I'm assuming Amazon, anywhere you buy books. For your books?
Yes, absolutely. You can also get it from mindvalley.com. Let me see if this link works. So there's a special promotion with the book right now where you get sweet. Mind Valley's meditation app free with the book. Just go to mindvalley.com /books/6phase, the number 6, PHASE, 6phase.
Okay.
And what happens is that with the book, there's a really cute video on that page, but it shows you what you get with the book. It's mind blowing. It's a new meditation app from Mind Valley. It's the most advanced meditation app out there. And when you go to that page and look at the video, you'll understand why.
And so it's mindvalley /books/6phase.
6phase.
Yeah, books with an S. Okay, perfect. And then there'll be a video that kind of walks you through or shows you what the book is about. Awesome. Well, very cool. Well, and I know you've had, and we didn't get into it today, but I know you've had a very interesting background from what I've read, and just because of your travels and because you're from Malaysia and you do stuff around the world and in the States, and it sounds like you had to experience some bias and some prejudice and some things. And I also heard you had some struggles with the business aspect of
I don't think that's relevant. I think
not today, but I love all those backstories. I love all those backstories because they make they help people connect and then say, so it wasn't that you were all just, this has been sunshine and rainbows your whole life. In fact, it has not been sunshine and rainbows your whole life from the bios and the stuff I've read. It's that you've just become super focused on how do you help the world, how do you help humankind. And
super focused, yes, but also because I do the 6phase meditation daily.
And so it gives you the energy and the
so
strength.
Now it is sunshine and rainbows.
I like that. But it wasn't always. I guess that was my point. If you're experiencing not sunshine and rainbows, this will help you find sunshine and rainbows, right? This isn't right. This hasn't always been your state of mind or your state of being. This is something that you've developed and something that you use, which is always the best thing when we're guinea pigs with ourselves. How do we improve?
Absolutely.
Well, certainly, thank you for coming on the show today. I appreciate your time, and we will put links to this stuff in our show notes as well. So if you're listening or if you're viewing this on our YouTube channel, certainly click on those links, and you will be able to find the new book that is being released currently. So thank you so much for your time today.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of the BriteVibe podcast. For more information, go to BriteVibe.com. That's BriteVibe.com. Thank you for listening.